Hey there, welcome to You Do You. My name is Mark. So this video is going to be about two fragrances by Chanel. One is Pour Monsieur, and the other one is something that I have yet to unbox, which is ANTAEUS. So very excited. Stick around. So Pour Monsieur is a very very old fragrance, and I in fact had a full bottle of Pour Monsieur back in 1990. I remember it so well because Pour Monsieur, what I wore to the first professional theater production that I saw, which was a matinee of Fiddler on the Roof when Repertory Philippines did it way back then. It was a great production directed by Bibot Amador. So it was what I was wearing that time, which is why I remember it so clearly. Pour Monsieur is really not something that you should get if you care very much about projection and longevity. I think the longevity is okay, but for the most part, you will really have a difficult time smelling this fragrance on you very soon after you spray. Or maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it'll be okay for like 30 minutes, but even back then, even back in 1990, the performance of Pour Monsieur has never been really stellar. I remember, I think I asked my dad if he liked the fragrance I was wearing, and he said, "Are you sure you're wearing something?" Or something like that. And 10 years ago, also a friend. So I saw a friend in a gallery, and well, he's into fragrances also, and so I asked him what he was wearing. He said Pour Monsieur, and really I couldn't smell anything. If you like beasts, or even if you want like average performing fragrances, Pour Monsieur is not going to be for you. It was bad performing back then, back when they still were in those stout, shorter bottles. They were already badly performing at the time, and they're just as bad now. The sad thing about Pour Monsieur is that it's one of the fragrances that were absolutely destroyed by the IFRA regulations regarding oak moss. When I got this bottle last year, I was really saddened because the charm of the moss in Pour Monsieur, and it's the only one that had it. It's so unique, it's so distinctive. There's a treatment of moss in Pour Monsieur that it alone achieved something so gentlemanly, and you can't even say that it's fresh. It's more of pillowy. Moss felt in Pour Monsieur, at least back then, it felt really pillowy. That was a character that made Chanel's Pour Monsieur so very unique that even if it didn't perform so well, I've always felt good at the thought of Pour Monsieur. When I got it last year, very disappointing. So the best thing I could say is that if you're gonna get Pour Monsieur, go get the vintage, or well, it doesn't necessarily have to be vintage. So as long as it's a bottle produced before 2017, because 2017 is the year when oak moss was banned. I didn't after that bottle in the 1990s, I never really went back to Pour Monsieur. They must have reformulated it again, no doubt. They do that, but I imagine that the oak moss didn't really disappear until IFRA made it clear that it could no longer be used. So, as far as Pour Monsieur is concerned, get any bottle before 2017 if you want to understand the people who are crazy about it. Any bottle after 2017, like this one, it doesn't hit the spot. Yeah, I just sprayed, and yeah, it just really doesn't. Not at all. The pre 2017 Pour Monsieur was deeply relaxed. It's like the scent of contentment, misty. It evoked a kind of leisure that had nothing to worry about. This current formulation smells busy. It feels active. There's also something about the current formulation that reminds me of standard colognes. But the charm of that misty, pillowy sensation of relaxed leisure is really gone from it by now, and if you ask me, it's not really worth it anymore. I bought it just for sentimental reasons, and what I should have done was I should have skipped getting a new bottle, and I should have just gone for a vintage, because sometimes they do turn up. So that's what I have to say about Pour Monsieur, and on to the unboxing. I actually smelled Antaeus too back in the 1990s, and since I was just 12. I felt so violated by it. I suppose it's because of the animalic notes. It was a visceral rejection of what I was smelling. But now I'm old enough. Antaeus feels like a rite of passage. I'm smelling it from the nozzle, and oh my god. It's going to be my scent of the night, so total wear. First impressions. It smells so smart, unique, leathery goodness. That was the first thing that came to mind is that this smells like as far as one could get from a stupid person. The first thing I wanted to say is that sexy, but then very soon after that the word sexy came to mind is that smart. Smart. 10 out of 10. Alright, I don't know if I'm gonna do a full review of Antaeus in the future. To a certain extent, I think that any review of Antaeus is going to be superfluous. In part because there's a Chanel counter in most places, and so you don't really need to. I mean, you could just go to the mall and smell it there if they have a tester of it, because sometimes they don't. What I can say is that this is a kind of vintage that did not date. It feels incredibly contemporary, well balanced and smooth, absolutely inoffensive. The amount of aldehydes is just really right, and it could be worn any time of the year. It's addictive. I really think it's one of the great fragrances. If the vintage were better, well, thank goodness I did not have a previous experience of the vintage, but this current formulation, not so bad. What do I mean? I mean, like, well, if you're an Antaeus virgin, getting Antaeus now is not going to break your heart because it smells fantastic. And if you're 35 years old and above, blind buy worthy. And if you end up disliking it, please develop some taste. No offense if you dislike Antaeus, okay? I mean, not much. See you.